to the April 23rd meeting of the Independence Planning Commission. Before we begin our meeting, let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For those of you who are unfamiliar with our meetings, it is the responsibility of this commission to hold public hearings and make recommendations to the Independent City Council on matters related to zoning and land use changes within our city. We also consider and make decisions on plats, special use permits, and other issues, as well as changes in codes and policies that relate to city planning. Our procedure for each case tonight will be as follows. First, the applicant will be recognized to speak on behalf of their case, followed by anyone else in attendance that wishes to speak in favor of that matter. Secondly, those who are in opposition or who have questions regarding that case will then be recognized to speak. If there is any opposition or questions from the public, the applicant will then be granted a rebuttal period to address those concerns or questions. Then once the applicant is finished with that, the chair will declare the public hearing portion of that case closed, and further comment from the public will not be recognized. At that point, the commissioners will then have the opportunity to discuss the merits of the case with one another, and during that discussion, the commission reserves the right to ask questions of all parties concerned. And then finally, the commission will render a decision in that case. Because this is the only public hearing of the cases on the agenda tonight, all those who wish to speak will be heard. All comments and questions should be addressed to me, the chair, and not directly to the city staff or the applicant. The chair also requests that statements be kept brief and on point. Please do not ramble and get off the point. If a statement has already been made by previous speakers, please do not repeat it. Simply indicate your agreement on that matter. So now, to expedite tonight's meeting, the chair asks that everyone who wishes to testify or thinks they may want to testify or believes that they may have something to say, please stand now and be sworn in. Those of you who are standing, do you solemnly swear to tell the whole truth before this commission? If so, please answer, I do. Thank you. You may be seated. The first items on our agenda today are in the consent agenda. And unless there's any objections, I need to have a motion to consider each of these separately or together. Or together. Let's put them together. So do I have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mr. Preston moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Goldberry seconded. Is there any discussion on the matter? All right, we're ready to vote.
Commissioner Goldsberry?
Yes.
Commissioner Preston?
Yes.
Commissioner Wiley?
Yes.
Chairman Ashball?
Yes. Okay. Those cases, case number 19320-01 and case 19310-01 have both passed. Our next case is case number 19-100-04, rezoning of 1026 East 23rd Street South. Would the city please give the report, please?
Before we start, I'd like to ask, is there anybody here representing the applicant tonight? Well, I had contacted him by phone, I believe, this morning or yesterday afternoon, and he said he was going to be here. I gave him the time and the date and everything. I can go ahead and give the staff report, and we can continue it to, would be the May 14th meeting. Or since the people are here, I can do the staff report and they can make any issues, give testimony if they'd like.
Let's go ahead and proceed,
Yeah.
I think. And,
Do we want, Mr. Chair,
pardon?
do we want to proceed and take testimony if I continue it?
Did you give me options? I think the folks are here, and if they, I don't know. I would say let's go ahead and get the report first.
Okay.
Okay, and let's see if
All
he
right.
shows up.
Okay, Victor Ariola seeks to rezone this property at 1026 East 23rd Street from R12, which is two-family residential, to C3, which is service commercial. The oval shows the site along 23rd Street, just west of Savage. This is the rezoning for the area, again with the property in the oval. The site is quite noticeable, being the residential yellow color in the midst of commercial red in this segment of East 23rd Street. I don't know why this property was not zoned commercial. It's been that way for several decades. This is the aerial of the site. The applicant owns both the subject property, which is in the oval at 1026, and the adjoining property, which has a building on it at 1028, that he uses for his office, his business office. There's a restaurant to the east on the corner there, and then there's an auto parts store and a credit union to the south across East 23rd Street. This is a photograph of the site. We're basically standing on the sidewalk looking north into the site. The building to the right of the truck is the applicant's building, with all the land to the left of the building being the site sought to be rezoned. It consists of a driveway, parking lot, a little landscaped area, as you can see, and then an enclosed area in the back where the applicant plans to store his vehicles and equipment. But that must be paved. We're actually going through a court case for that right now. Okay, the next two pictures are just a couple photos of the site from different locations. Here we're kind of on the driveway, looking slightly to the northeast. Again, there's the applicant's building. Down there's kind of almost like a basement type structure. And then there's the open area next to it that's fenced in. And then this is another one of now the retaining wall that we'd see on the right here, I'm not sure if that's the applicant's retaining wall or the property to the east, their retaining wall. But in any case, again, there's the fenced area there in the back. And then the part of the used car lot, which is next to that, is to the west of that, shows up there. You can see a few of the used cars. This is the restaurant to the east of the applicant's site. It's on the northwest corner of Savage and Northeast 23rd Street. Part of the parking area that we're looking at the part of the lower part of the screen is actually parking lot that goes with the building that's owned by the applicant. So the property line is about just on the other side of those railroad ties. Here we're looking east down 23rd Street. You can see again the savings and loan off in the, it's a credit union off in the distance. Here's another picture of the credit union. I don't remember what the name of the credit union is, but this is the auto parts store directly across the street from the applicant's property. And here we're looking west up 23rd Street. You can see the car lot there on the right. There's a small strip center further down 23rd Street, off in the distance there on the left. This is the car lot that's, here we go. This is the car lot that is immediately adjacent to the applicant's property. The driveway to the applicant's property is, we're standing basically in the driveway. That's the approach that goes on to 23rd Street, that goes up to, and that's the sidewalk that is in front of the applicant's property. Okay, staff does not recommend approval of this application as the proposed C3 zoning is not consistent with the zoning on the other properties along East 23rd Street and would allow some permitted land uses that would not be compatible with the neighboring uses and districts. And the applicant is here now.
Okay, and before we call the applicant forward, what would he use it for that would not be compatible?
There's a few uses in C3 that, which I brought my book that I could look at here. Excuse me.
Can you go back to the zoning map?
Okay.
And then maybe give us a little bit, again, a refresher on, I mean, the red is general,
Yeah,
C2, general,
C2, that's right.
and he wants it C3, service.
Well, originally he applied for C2 because of the neighbor surrounding is all C2. But then because he can't do outside storage of his equipment and trucks and so forth, then it was upgraded to a C3. That's why it was continued from the last meeting on to this meeting.
Okay.
Was the applicant notified of the city's opposition?
Well, I mean, he
reluctance
got
to
the
a
staff
C3?
report. I emailed him the staff report like Friday. Other than that, I don't think so. Initially, it wasn't decided when when it was changed to C3. It was, we were undecided on that. Okay, let me look. Well, one of the uses would be like a day labor employment agency. It's allowed in a C3, but not a C2.
So,
Okay, I'm still looking here. Heavy equipment sales and rental would be allowed in a C3, but not a C2, and that would be like construction equipment, that sort of thing. And also motor vehicle repair general, which is transmissions, overhauls, body work, body shops, that sort of thing. Not allowed in a C2 at all, but would be in a C3. Tow service dispatch centers, but we are full up on those, so you couldn't do that there. Limited manufacturing and recycling, mini warehouses and warehousing in general. That's about it. All the most of the commercial retail type things would be allowed in both districts. Again, the C2 would allow him to do the landscaping. It's just the C3 would allow him to do outdoor storage. And that also applies for electricians and plumbers and all the contractor type businesses.
so you're talking about outdoor storage of.
A lot of these trucks and equipment.
Okay, just a fine point, how's it differ, like, I'm not disagreeing with you, I just ask a question, like O'Reilly's across the street?
Well, O'Reilly's is not going to have a trailer with a
See, that's where
backhoe and lawnmowers and all sorts of things like that on it.
Well, I know, and that's where I'm going with that. So a vehicle would be okay, but a trailer and other things would
Well,
not be okay.
what we kind of decided on this is like that pickup truck there would be okay, because that would be something that would normally be in a C2 or a C3. It's not really construction equipment. I mean, you buy those and drive those on the street. But when you get into specialized equipment like a cherry picker, backhoe, trailers with miscellaneous ditch diggers and mowers and that sort of thing, that's when you get into the outdoor storage.
Okay, so a pole barn would not be acceptable, but it'd have to be a building, a covered building for the equipment.
Well, we would, I think we are actually okay with the, well, yeah, if you're talking C2, he could build a building on that site conceivably and then put all the stuff in the building. But as small as the property is, it's probably not that practical.
Okay, all right. And the applicant is here, okay. Why don't you come forward, and I'm gonna have you first, before you state your name and address for the record, you need to be sworn in. So if you'd raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the whole truth before this commission? If so, please answer, I do.
I do.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead and state your name and your address, please.
Victor Arriola, 1028 East 23rd Street South, Independence, Missouri 64055.
Okay. Could you just give us a brief description of what you want to, what you're trying to do, and we'll just kind of go from there, okay?
Okay, what I want to do is I buy the lot with the warehouse. It's a building next to it. So the building, I'm going to storage all my equipment on the building, and nothing's going to be outside. Yes, my trailer will be outside and my trucks, but other than that, nothing will be outside because I got a big warehouse inside that I can put everything in there, so I really don't need to put any machine outside. And another thing, maybe, yes, I do, because I'm probably gonna put some mulch, some stuff inside to where, especially when I bring my stuff bags, sometimes I got extra stuff and I just put it on there. So I do want to have some kind of stuff that I can pull my material that I got left over, but I'm gonna do like a little sections off, like any landscaping supplies has it, But other than that, I would not have any machines outside. All my machines, I keep it inside the shop, because I do have a shop next to it.
Okay. So, Stuart, you can correct me if I'm wrong. What he's saying he can do with C2.
Well, are you planning to keep your extra materials and things in the fenced-in area? Is that right?
Inside, yes.
Okay, well,
When
that
you
would
say
be,
when you say inside, we don't mean inside the fence. We mean inside a building.
Inside the fence and that little lot.
So
that I got.
it'll still be open and visible, right, to the
Yes.
public view. So that's not allowed.
yeah, well, since it's really materials that he's using in his business, I don't know that the code's pretty specific about the equipment and they don't really talk about materials so much. But if they're not really for retail, they're more or less, I mean, you can't go there and buy a wheelbarrow for a rock, I assume.
No.
So it'd be more of a wholesale type of thing. So it would probably be better to stick with the C2 if it's that type of operation. One of the issues that we came up why this is here more or less was the applicant had some equipment outside on the grass and gravel that's behind the fence. And city code compliance got on him about parking on the gravel. And I guess at that time, perhaps there were things outside that were trailers and that sort of thing.
On the yard, yes.
Yeah, so that's why we ended up where it was. And I think that my understanding from code compliance is that the area behind the fence is now, although you can sort of see a truck there, is now vacant, that he's not storing anything back there, so he's not violating the code for having vehicles parked on the grass or gravel. He's supposed to pave all that before he stores any vehicles back there. And if he's going to put materials back there, he only has to pave a little bit of it or something. I can't say I know that much about his plans.
So, so if he wants to change it to C2,
Well,
that
the
would still have to go through. That would have to go through another.
Well, no,
process or what?
the C3 is the higher zoning classification, and you can always go down. But if you wanted C2 and you said, well, let's zone C3, you couldn't do that. But you can recommend a C2 because it's the lower classification.
So if so I guess that's what the mechanics of what we would be doing. Because if he's saying I can comply with the C2, then do we have to have another meeting, or do we?
No, you could actually make a recommendation that the zoning be approved for C2, and it could go to city council that way.
So we can actually amend.
If the applicant is willing to
I know. I'm just
accept
trying
that.
to. I'm just.
Yeah, you could amend. Yeah, you could amend the or just just say that you recommend a C2 zoning and have everyone vote on that.
Okay, because I don't want to, I want to start off, if we're going to do this, I want to start on the right foot. And I understand there's some people here that may want to speak or have questions. I'll tell you what, Mr. Aurelio, why don't you sit down just for a second?
Okay.
I'll call you back up. I'm going to go through this thing I'm supposed to go through. Okay. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak in favor of this case? Is there anyone here who would like to speak in opposition or who has questions? Okay. So I'm going to go ahead, Stuart, if it's okay, and close the public portion because nobody else wants to speak.
Okay.
Okay. Now, Mr. Aurelio, could you please come up again? Thank you.
No, this is where he is now.
So, do you understand what Mr. Borders is saying about we can vote on a C3 so that you could store your equipment outside if it's passed, but we would vote on that, and if we say no, it still has to go to the city council, right?
That's
And
correct.
they would have to say yes. But it's much more likely that you would be approved if you wanted the C2, which means that you could store some materials and a vehicle outside, but you couldn't store any other equipment besides a vehicle, I believe.
Yeah, just a standard issue pickup truck
Yes.
like that.
But my
So
trailers.
if you're okay with that, then if you're okay with the C2,
As long as I can park my trailers though too, because the trailers.
your trailers, I
Yes.
don't know.
Well, the trailers are, construction, they're not, this pickup that you see in the photo there is fine and other things, but when you're talking about the trailers, I mean, that's part of it would be the same thing as an electrician or a plumber or, excavator storing his equipment outside. It would be the same thing, whether there's lawnmowers on the trailer or not. That is equipment and material. So if he's going to store his trailers outside, then he needs a C3, whether there's lawnmowers on them or not.
Okay, so no, you could not store your trailer with C2. You could if C3 is approved. So I guess the ball is kind of in your court. If you want us to proceed with voting on and discussing a C3, we'd be happy to do that. If you'd like to,
Yeah, I think so. I think I want to go to.
you want to
C3.
go for that? Okay.
Yes, I don't want to have a headache anymore. If you're gonna pass it, let's do it.
Okay.
Because I
Yeah.
guess, and then the thing is in the C3, what it comes on that, because really, I want to know what is the stuff that needs to go through after you guys approve C3 or whatever. What comes after that? What
Well-
I need to do, a building, what I need to do, because I gotta.
I'll tell you what I think, and Stuart can correct me if I'm wrong. If we say, if we vote here and we say yes or no to C3, that moves on to a city council meeting, and the city council has the final say. And I really can't speak for them. I don't know if they would approve it or not. If they don't approve it, then you're still in non-compliance, right? And you
Well,
would
he's
have
in-
to-
Yeah, because he's really using that site for his commercial operations. So he's got that plus the, paving of the parking area inside the fence.
Right. So in other words, if worst case scenario for you, if we say no to C3 and the city council says no to C3, then you would still have to apply for, you'd still have to get a C2 anyway, because you're on a residential lot, and technically you can't do commercial on a residential lot.
I would
If-
like to throw in here before we go is that there is a cooling off period between when an application is denied before they can apply for another application on the same property. And I don't know whether it's 6 months or a year, so
So,
That he couldn't, it would just have to sit, and he'd have to stop operations using that part of the property until, again, he gets it rezoned to some level of commercial. So, I don't know where the council is on this or anything, so I couldn't provide any more information.
yeah. So did you understand what he was saying? If you can't get a C3, then apparently there's a period of time that you have to wait to reapply even to get a C2. And technically, you would have to stop all your operations at that site until that period was over with. So, Stuart, should we, so what I don't want to put any pressure on you. I want you to take time to decide. We can recommend it as a C2. I'm not sure that we would recommend it as a C3 because the city doesn't really want it, and we could take a straw vote here and just see, but I don't think that the commissioners want that either.
It does not appear
It does not appear that way, and then
that the C3 is compatible.
right.
That area is primarily zone C2. You can operate in C2, simply you'll need a building and you can't put trailers outside. It is reasonable to expect that this commission would approve C2.
6 months.
I would think that it is, again, highly unlikely that this commission would vote favorably on a C3 in as much as it is incompatible with the area.
But in the C2 and the C3 is the same way. I had to payment the whole thing anyways.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what?
And you intend to put most of your equipment, well, all of your equipment inside of your building?
Yes, I can put the trailers inside the building, they still fit, and my my building is huge. But, it's just, my guys will
I know
hit
it's
my
a little.
building.
It's a little
Will hit my
inconvenient for
building, but what I can say is that if you go C2, pass a C2, then I cannot have much. What about,
While you're thinking about that, let me ask Stuart a question. Can this be postponed to next meeting? Would he still be able to operate there? I'm just offering him that. I'm just saying that he might want to have time to decide what he's going to do.
Well, from what I can tell, there is one vehicle there that's on the other side of the fence. But otherwise, code compliance says that they have cleared out any vehicles and materials, equipment, and so forth on this property behind the fence. So if it stays like that, then he's fine, because in theory, he's not using that part for his business. So we just continue like we've been
So we
up to
continue
this
it.
point.
I think we should go to C2
So-
because now I can still keep my trucks there. And even if I had to move my trailers into the shop, I can be
Okay.
able to park my trucks there. So if it will get approved to the C2.
Okay.
Because I do have a parking, and what about in the front?
You need to speak in the microphone.
What about in the front of my building? I mean, I got a lot of parking space there too. Can I be able to park my trucks in the front too?
No, that would apply to all of the C2.
Well,
I mean, if you can keep all your equipment and your trailers and whatever else in the building, then we'd be fine with the C2.
however, he could. I mean, we're talking about storage. We're not talking about him pulling in for a
Well,
couple
yeah,
minutes.
pulling in
and-
for run in and get a coffee or something, that's fine. But if they're going to be there overnight,
right.
on the weekends,
What about Ali? I mean, he's got all his truck there, and I mean, he's still got his car parked. Why should I have why should I cannot keep my trucks in the front? I mean, I had a problem before with that too. Having my trucks in the other lot. They kicked me out of the other lot. Now I buy this one. I still got the same issues.
well,
And I mean,
Well-
everybody tells me that I had to put all my trucks inside. I mean, how come people have it outside? I mean, why they have to treat me this way?
These pickup trucks, as you see here, no, those don't have to be inside.
Well,
It's
my-
just your trailers
Okay.
with the lawnmowers, that sort of thing. But if it's just a standard off-the-shelf pickup truck like this one is, then you don't need to be inside.
So they can be outside?
Mhm.
Okay, because I do have a couple of trucks that I want to keep it outside, you know. I can put the trailers inside. I don't need to use I mean, I don't need to use it. The only reason I use my empty lot right now is because they tell me that my trucks cannot be outside. They have to be blocked and they cannot be able to see from the road. And that's why I'm kind of confused big time. And I've been confused so much since I started an independence. And that's why.
Well, the last thing I remember from code compliance was that the area was not paved. I think that he's resolved the rest of the issues. The area that was being parked on is not paved, but they've suspended their action on this case, you know, based upon this, you know, rezoning.
The off-the-shelf pickup truck will always be fine in
Yeah,
route.
like you
How
see in the photo
about
there.
for him with a work truck, flatbed work truck?
Well, that's, you know, when this came up years ago after we changed the code, there was a lot of discussion, well, some discussion in our department on what was, you know, considered a construction type. And something that you drive home at night or that you have in your personal use, like the pickup trucks seen there, would be fine, even if it had, you know, areola lawn maintenance on the side, that's fine. But once you get into anything above that, the flatbed, the construction trailer, the, you know, backhoes, whatever, equipment trailers or equipment trucks, that sort of thing, that was not.
That had to be
Yeah.
inside the building.
Yeah, and we use that same thing for doing parking, construction, of commercial vehicles in residential neighborhoods. If it's just your issue with a truck like that with some company name on the side of it, if that was not his place of business, he just drove it home at night, that's fine. But once you got more than that, then you were in trouble.
Well, I got F-250s only. F-250s. I don't have a flatbed or I got F-250 trucks, that's all. So, I mean, those trucks, I mean, I think they can stay outside. And I don't have to use that little place. You know, I can put my trucks outside. And that's the only thing I was worried about it. That they tell me that they cannot see my trucks, that they had to be in what is called a closure fence or something, you know, so they're not going to be able to see from the street. And also, that's why I go ahead and put my trucks in there. I was worried about I'm going to get a bunch of tickets just to put my trucks outside.
It appears
Well, I think
that
that part of it was,
C2 would accommodate his operation.
it's conceivable, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the last issue that I heard from code compliance, like I said, was not the vehicles, well, because there was nothing there, but it was the parking on the gravel or grass.
So we can amend this again to be C2.
Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Basically downgrade the application.
all right. Now, I notice it still says C3, but there is no mention of paving on there.
Well, that's not something that really, a zoning can't be, it cannot be a condition of approval that he does that. I mean, code compliance is taking care of that on their own.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's not saying that you can put a condition on, you just can't put conditions on rezoning.
I just noticed it on other items, so I
Well,
don't,
I mean, it's maybe mentioned, but it can't be a condition of rezoning. Now, on planned unit developments, yeah, you can do that.
well, I'm not particularly wanting to do it. I just want to make sure that we've got all our i's dotted and all our t's crossed.
I guess if the applicant's not opposed to this and the planning commission's not either, I guess we could continue this to May, and then it would be May 14th, and we could sit down with the applicant and go through all this and make sure that we're
Well,
both on the same
And
page.
that's why I asked you that, because I don't if he can continue his operation on there, I don't want to have him feel like he's on the spot and he has to make a quick decision. You can make sure you absolutely understand everything you need to do and then come back with whatever you want to do. So are you okay with postponing it till May? Because you can still do your operations.
Yes, and I mean, I understand, but that I have to, can I use AB3 instead of blacktop? I mean,
Well,
What was
that's-
that again?
on the,
AB3, it's like a crushed gravel.
Yes.
I can't answer that. I think it's a paved surface
See,
though.
and I think you probably got a lot of questions and you
Yeah,
need to
although
have them answered, and we can't
Commercials,
really.
AB3 is a sophisticated gravel.
kind of like
can be
a chip and seal
compacted.
type of thing?
It does, it's
Well, generally it's concrete or asphalt.
yeah,
with-
water flows through it. It can
Yeah.
be
Well,
compacted.
that can be
Yes.
something we can discuss with him
Yeah.
if we have a meeting.
because right away I can do that, grade all that stuff. And I got that stuff already, so I put it there already because my
Yeah.
truck will get stuck and if I don't use that. So everything was already with AB3, so all I got to do is just put the asphalt back.
Sure.
I got to do a stage. It's a lot of money to do asphalt on that area, so I wanted to go,
You bet. Yeah.
yes.
Well, so
I think he understands the difference.
so what I need is a motion that
Mr.
we
Chair,
continue this.
to continue it or?
Continue it to whatever date that would be, Stuart.
May 14th.
Okay. Can I have a motion to that effect, please?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
in the matter of case number 19-100-04, rezoning at 1026 East 23rd Street, I move that this be continued to the next session,
May 14th, right?
next
May
session,
14th.
May 14th.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay. So we have a motion to vote?
Commissioner Goldsberry,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiley,
Yes.
Chairman Ashbaugh.
Yes. So your case has been continued until May 14th. That'll give you time to talk to the city planners or whoever you need to talk to, okay?
Okay.
So if you decide to proceed, however you decide to proceed, we'll see you then, okay?
Yeah, so we can do that.
Okay.
I can work with Stewart and see what we need to do.
Yeah, I will give you a call in the next couple of
All right.
days and we'll get something going.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Elio.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Good night.
Do I need to make the statement it's been officially continued? Okay. Just. All right. The next item on our agenda is the approval of 2 sets of minutes. So does anybody have any changes or questions on the February 12th minutes? Okay. Does anybody have any questions or changes to recommend on March 26th? All right, hearing no one wanting to make any changes or discussions, we'll say the minutes are approved as they're approved. Are there any questions for the city, or any city have any questions for us or
No,
comments?
not tonight.
All right, God bless you. All right, this commission stands adjourned at 6:40 PM.